Hello, everyone. It's Philip Lee returning with another episode of Civil War Chat. Today is the 12th of September, 2001. And click on the subscribe button below here on the lower right to subscribe, and also the notification bell in the upper right to be notified when new episodes are released. Today's episode is What Hath Silent Sam Wrought? Some of you may remember that Silent Sam was the Confederate statue on the University of North Carolina campus. Now, 3 years ago, a mostly white student mob at the Chapel Hill campus of the University of North Carolina toppled a statue dedicated to the memory of an anonymous Confederate infantryman. Informally known as Silent Sam, it was erected in 1913 with money almost entirely obtained through donations by alumni and the United Daughters of the Confederacy. At the time, it was a total of $7,500, and all but $500 was donated by those two sources. Only $500 of the total $7,500 came from the university itself. Now, after Silent Sam was mutilated in 2018, hundreds of UNC faculty petitioned that the symbol of, quote, human cruelty be removed, notwithstanding that North Carolina law required that it be reinstalled immediately. Nonetheless, UNC's Board of Governors removed it with the support of the state's governor and many other politicians. As usual, most of the students who destroyed the statue were white, as were the faculty, editorialists, and politicians who wanted it removed. Aside from signaling their presumed superior morality, they hoped the removal would benefit Blacks. And this is a great misconception. The Confederate symbol banishments that started in earnest 6 years ago have changed nothing for Blacks. Last week, for example, a gang of high schoolers in Charlotte, North Carolina conducted a drive-by shooting, which killed a 3-year-old Black child. It's really quite shocking to see it. You'll find it on YouTube. The shooters unloaded from two vehicles, got out of the vehicles, and pumped about 150 bullets into the targeted house. Now, so far, only 2 arrests have been made, and both of them are Black youths. The media does not discuss the race of the suspects. They just don't do it because this is Black on Black crime, and they do not want to talk about that. And that in itself is a great sin, because we can't get at the truth of our condition if we can't have the facts presented to us. Now, one of the high schools suspected of providing student shooters was, until recently, the namesake of a Confederate general and one of the state's Civil War era governors. Renaming it for a Black civil rights leader so far has had no effect on changing the dysfunctional Black community in which these youth live. And that's really the key point here of this episode. Tearing down these Confederate statues is doing nothing to change the problems in the Black community. Despite the convoluted rationalizations of so-called anti-racist experts like Ibram X. Kendi, it is time that those who destroy Confederate monuments attempting to improve conditions for Blacks recognize that it may be time for the Blacks themselves to concentrate on improving themselves. During a recent interview, one critic of identity politics concluded that additional government policies based upon white guilt can accomplish nothing more. In response to a question by Andrew Klavan about whether bad government policies are causing Black dependency and underachievement, Heather Macdonald of the Manhattan Institute replied, "At this point, there's got to be a change coming from within the Black community, as well as dropping the bad policies to which you, Andrew, allude. There's got to be a total rejection of this so-called anti-acting white syndrome. There's got to be a commitment to academic achievement. There's a lot to be gained from adopting the bourgeois values that have disintegrated in the last 4 decades. Values like work, like industry, like deferring gratification, keeping your word, all this sort of thing. Now, Charlotte's, in my opinion, Charlotte's recent drive-by shooting is yet more evidence that the sanctimonious circumscription of Confederate symbols will do nothing to improve conditions for Blacks. It is, however, divisive. A spirit of nationalism, North and South, enabled America to emerge as a global leader after World War II. Without that unification, we may not have been able to achieve it. I think there's a good chance we wouldn't have. And without that spirit, we risk, even today, without that spirit, we risk losing the cohesiveness of a national identity. There's people in this country now that do not think that white Southerners are Americans or don't even want them in America, but they are part of America and they deserve better treatment. If you want to keep them in America, or more importantly, if you want to keep America as one country. Without a national identity, we may eventually become like Afghanistan, a delineated geography that is a mere collection of tribes perpetually quarreling and distrustful of one another. So that's really basically all I've got to say, but I would like to share with you this book, Trading with the Enemy, which is one of the 5 or 6 that I've written on the Civil War. And what it is about is the trading between the North and the South during the Civil War. I'm not talking about individual soldiers trading coffee for tobacco, no, not that sort of thing. The actual economic impact of Northerners buying Southern cotton and supplying it to the New England mills. For example, cotton was kind of like the oil of the 19th century in terms of its overall economic importance. 2/3 of the cotton that was traded or purchased during the Civil War went across the battle lines to the northern states and ultimately primarily to New England. And only 1/3 of it went through the maritime blockade with blockade runners like the fictional Rhett Butler. It was almost entirely across the battle lines. Now, if you'd like to buy a copy of the book, it's $26 at Barnes & Noble and Amazon. If you want an autographed copy, you can get one from me. I'll sell it to you here in the United States, covering the postage and shipping. It'll be $29. And just what you need to do is email me, Phil, P-H-I-L _ Leigh, L-E-I-G-H at me.com. Okay, I want to thank you for watching. That's our show for today. And until next time,